From the sky, Massachusetts looks as green as can be.
About 60% of Massachusetts is covered by forests, so it's one of the most forested states.
A new study, Wildlands in New England, focuses on the need for wildlands, permanently protected land that is left alone to mature with minimal human interference. The report says wildlands are critical. They preserve wildlife habitat and biodiversity, store large amounts of carbon, and boost resilience to climate stresses. Only 2.3% of Massachusetts is considered wildlands. Even rarer, old-growth forests, which show no signs of ever being disturbed, says Michael Kellett.
About 90-some-odd% of Massachusetts was old-growth forest back in 1600. Now it's about 1/100th of 1%, and that doesn't seem like a good balance to me.
Kellett believes forests should be unmanaged as much as possible. He's executive director of the nonprofit Restore the North Woods in Concord.
If you're going to do forestry, the best thing is to go in and cut a few trees here every year or every few years. You leave most of the trees, then the forest isn't irreparably damaged, it can recover. Unfortunately, that's mostly not what happens.
Kellett says forest management can involve logging the best, often oldest trees.
What's left behind is not great, and that's what a lot of the logging is in Massachusetts and across the country.
The forest regrows, but it is forever changed, says Kellett.
When they cut a forest, they don't go identify every single bacterium and insect. What's left behind still is not going to be as good for a number of native species as a natural forest. Forests were managing themselves for millions of years without any help from humans, so they do just fine on their own.
However, other experts say management is necessary for forest resilience.
The human thumbprint on the landscape reflect our past land use and our decisions on the land. And so to simply walk away from that and say the forest is recovering in a perfectly natural fashion, unfortunately is not the case.
Jeff Collins is Senior Director of Conservation Science at Mass Audubon.
We're advising others on an approach we call climate-smart forest management, occasionally removing some trees to benefit other trees, that thinning the canopy so that more light is reaching the forest floor, to support ground cover species, plant species that are important for invertebrates, birds, all kinds of other wildlife.
Collins says other forestry practices also have benefits.
Maintain and increase the diversity of tree species, the range of age classes of tree sizes in a forest, invasive species control or removal.
But Collins agrees that more forests should age naturally.
Protecting big areas of that forest to let it mature is critical. Mass Audubon, of our 40,000 acres that we protect, we've committed 10,000 of those acres to become long-term forest reserves for 100 years.
Collins also points to the state's newly announced plan to focus on forests as climate solutions.
The state sort of clearly articulated a commitment to protect 30% of the land of Massachusetts by 2030, and also beyond that, a commitment to protecting 40% of Massachusetts by 2050. We lose about 5,000 acres of forest a year. They want to cut that rate of loss in half.
But residents, including Lynn Mann, aren't waiting.
A healthy forest soil is going to be very spongy and absorbent, and this is what allows nutrients to be transported between trees.
Mann has been working to re-wild forests in her hometown of Lunenburg. This forest, Rob's Hill, is growing exactly the way Mann thinks it should.
If you look up, you can see that the canopy is mostly closed. In this area, the forest survives very well with the shade the way that it is.
In 2019, Mann and other community members worked with the Lunenburg Conservation Commission to put a moratorium on cutting on Rob's Hill.
I'm not anti-logging. It would be crazy to be anti-logging. And there are a lot of organizations around that do sustainable logging and do exemplary forestry. That can be done in designated areas and on private land.
We need to have some humility and realize we need to be really careful. Well, that doesn't mean we can never cut a tree, but the more we learn, the more we realize there are all kinds of things that we didn't know before.
And there's also some debate over how to best protect against forest fires.
A lot of debate about that. Some people say that managed forests are worse because they've been thinned out, so that allows the wind to whip through and spread a fire more quickly. Others say that unmanaged forests, because they have sort of a closed canopy, are worse because the fire hops from tree to tree to tree, and that spreads the fire more quickly. So there is a good amount of debate on that.
Still ahead, finding your own Walden woods.